I feel weird when I say that Starfield snuck up on me. It was announced a lifetime ago when I was in high school, and now, years later, after I've graduated college, it's out. And it's good. I like it. Although, one of my gamer opinions that would get me in trouble is that I actually like Bethesda games straightforwardly. And I think that Starfield is made better by its Bethesda lineage. I mean, it's obviously going to be compared to Fallout and Skyrim and to a lesser extent Oblivion, and I feel like the studio knew that and worked with it. For example, one of the first planets the game story takes you to is Jemison, named after one of my personal heroes, Mae Jemison, and it's gorgeous. The main location is a city called New Artemis. It's a bustling metropolis of futuristic architecture and towering skyscrapers. And as someone who recently replayed Fallout 4, it blows Diamond City out of the water in its first district, which, of course, is what it's trying to do. And then, after walking down an elaborate garden path through an alien orchard, you enter this building. The dark wood paneling and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves feel more at home in 1730 than 2330. And the building is as beautiful as it is anachronistic. I almost forgot that the creation engine can do anything besides bombed-out buildings and Norse villages. There's little models scattered around of historic ships and paintings, and because we're in the future, that includes things like Vostok 1 and Apollo 11. It really gives you a sense of a community here that is deeply interested in history and art and culture. And this creates a sharp contrast between both what we expect out of the creation engine and where we spent the preceding 30 minutes. Before you even get to this place, you have to spend a good amount of time on a piece of shit moon and an abandoned research station shooting up ugly pirates. I mean, the sharp contrast between this and this, it's almost overwhelming in-game. But that's not the contrast between New Artemis and the starting area that I want to talk about. Early in the game, these people in the 18th century naval building give you a quest that takes you to Sol, our solar system, the one with Earth and Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and us. I mean, when I got this quest, I was giddy with excitement. Most space games relish in their universe and start you many thousands of light years away from Sol to make you reenact Star Trek Voyager in order to get back home. But Starfield? You're just one jump away, baby. So you go there and you find out that the quest is not actually taking you to Earth. It's taking you to Mars, specifically a colony called Cydonia. And you're only down there for a little bit. But it's definitely long enough to know that things suck here. People complain about not being able to find work, and everything is dusty and grimy, and there's a sign that says hours since last incident. Cydonia is not a good place. I mean, in contrast to New Artemis, it's a total shithole. But it's also the best place that you'll find in Sol. And that's because Earth is dead. There's a lot of dead worlds in Starfield. Most worlds that you come across are just balls of gray rock orbiting a star or a gas giant. I mean, they're cold and lifeless and not exactly places that you want to set up a timeshare. But they are useful. Starfield pretty cleverly adapts Fallout 4's crafting and base building system into the new setting. Put simply, there are organic and inorganic materials that you can harvest from any of the worlds. They all have different uses and rarities, meaning that you end up having to pick a system that you like and building a main base on one world and then building smaller mining and harvesting operations elsewhere in order to gather materials that aren't on your main planet. You can develop a pretty sophisticated supply chain in order to make sure that you always have what you need. And while not every planet or world has something great, they all have something useful. Sure, there are plenty of crappy moons that are just ice and aluminum or whatever, but even those still have interesting structures or natural features that you can scan and explore. Put simply, wherever you choose to land in Starfield, you're going to be able to do something. There's always an adventure that you can find yourself. Except on Earth. Earth is unique in our universe because it's the only planet we know for a fact supports life. How true that fact is to the rest of the universe is up for debate, but right now this is the only place we know for sure that has life. In Starfield, Earth being lifeless does not make it unique. There are plenty of lifeless planets in Starfield. What does make it unique is that it is useless. If you go to Earth and get out of your ship and walk around, you will not find any abandoned structures to explore and loot. You will not find any other ships exploring the planets that you can steal. You will find no evidence that it ever supported human life whatsoever. It is just desert. In the lore of Starfield, Earth's magnetosphere collapsed in the 2100s and solar winds blasted the atmosphere away. Humanity scrambled to the stars, settled new planets, and they basically forgot about the planet that bore us. Left behind, there isn't much. The only resources you can find are lead, mercury, chlorine, and chlorosilane liquids. You can find the occasional rock mound of uranium. But all of those resources can be found in abundance on just about any other, more interesting world. None of them are particularly useful for building or crafting, not like iron, aluminum, or nickel, the fundamental elements of the game. Put simply, there's no real point to explore Earth. So, why do I keep coming back here? Why do I keep landing in various places where I've lived and just stare at the rolling dunes? I think it's grief. Grief for something that hasn't even happened yet. I'm not going to litigate climate change here. It's happening, and it's happening in front of all of us. Take Texas, where I've lived for most of my life. In those years, I've seen snow in winter go from an occasional treat to a yearly occurrence that threatens the lives of millions of Texans. And to top that off, summers are getting hotter too, with Austin experiencing heat indices well above 115 degrees Fahrenheit, just as lethal as the freezing cold. As we belch greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, we are slowly making the planet unlivable for us and the plants and animals around us. But we don't care. We choose not to see it. That's the thing about humans, right? We can't see it. So many people are violently opposed to just seeing the havoc that we are wreaking on the environment. For so many of us, it seems like no one will acknowledge the problem until it is too late. We have to be confronted face first with our problems in order to actually do something about it. So, Starfield says, here it is. Bam! All of Earth, all of the oceans, all the jungles, all the taigas, all the grasslands and savannas and everything else, it's desert now. Want to visit your home region? Want to explore your home geography? Fuck you. It's gone. And it's not just gone, it's useless. There is nothing on Earth that's particularly rare, nothing you can't get in greater quantities elsewhere. Earth is just not a reasonable choice to make a home on. Not anymore. That sense of loss, that what we are and where we are now is irrelevant and useless, it permeates the whole system. Like I said before, Cydonia on Mars is a forgotten dump. The people there complained about being abandoned by the government and left to rot on a frozen dust ball, too poor to charter a ship to be able to leave. And the sparse UC presence complains about not having the resources they need to do their job. Pirates and religious crusaders have taken over much of the system, so that even just traveling is dangerous. The only other populated area besides Cydonia is a colony on Saturn's moon Titan called New Homestead. It's a kind of living history museum like Colonial Williamsburg. The people there make their money based off of tourism. But the main difference between Colonial Williamsburg and New Homestead is that you're born on Titan and you're born into living like that. The people there choose to live a traditional lifestyle, but that really just means poverty, starvation, and having to genuflect to all the rich tourists in order to be able to afford your bed at night. There's a whole neighborhood of people who live in old abandoned cargo containers because there's just nowhere else to go. Seoul used to be the cradle of humanity, and now it's a backwater. We were born on Earth, we lived on it for millennia, and then we left. And the worst part is, we never looked back. So, the game pushes you away, narratively and mechanically. There's no point to hanging out in Seoul. Why would you care about this, or this, or this, when you can go out and explore and find magnificent things like this, and this, and this. Yet I'm drawn back anyway, because it's home. Sure, there's no resources to harvest, no animals to tame, no plants to grow, and no mountains to climb. But to leave this place abandoned feels profane in some way, wasteful. There are over 1,000 planets in Starfield, but only one Earth. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. This is my first video, and I'm still trying to master the techniques I need, so thanks for watching all the way to the end. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like, and be on the lookout for my next video. It's going to be about Star Trek Deep Space Nine and how it handles organized religion. It's going to be a little bit longer, and I'm really excited for it.